Hello, all you sexy people out there on the internet. It is me again, Dungeon Master Jake, also known as the Chaos Gamer, and welcome to episode 2 of our The World of Erudain series. And this time, I'm going to be talking about Eltria, also known as the Wizard City. So we can see it here on the map, but I'm going to go do my close-up of the city. Things are not going to be labeled, but I will just be able to point and say what things are. So this is the wizard city of Eltria. It is on the Drontai continent, similar to the Valtine Empire. It is kind of established one of the superpowers of the continent, especially magic-wise, as Wizard City of Eltria is a country, but it's mostly a city-state, and there's surrounding farms and villages to feed this great city of magic. The city itself is about 500 years old, to be exact, 534 years old. So it's actually much older than almost any other country on the continent. And Eltria is the city of wizards, it's the city of magic. It's also called the city of doors, which I will get to in a moment. So, yes, Eltria is a city of wizards and magic. Almost any magic taught by humans, there is, of course, difference for different races, but almost all magic originates from Eltria, basically. The common guidelines of magic are set around Eltria and its common denominators. That might not be the right phrasing, but Eltria sets the path of magic. It's also where most wizards study, and, like, you might not have been taught magic by Eltria, but it's most likely the person who taught you or the person who taught them basically goes back, and Eltria is usually somewhere in the chain, unless you learn very rare or special kinds of magic. And I will get to that in another video, probably soon. But yeah, Eltria is a powerful country because again, not everyone in the country is a wizard. It does focus on magic and the study of magic, and it's kind of ruled by a council of wizards. So they have a lot more casters. And so, again, small army, but if you have like 50 people who can all cast giant explosions and lightning bolts, it kind of balances out the power. So I mentioned Eltria is called the City of Doors, and that's kind of why Eltria exists where it is that somewhere in Eltria, or specifically underneath Eltria, there is a node, or like a residue of very powerful magic, specifically spatial magic. And the city was founded by basically wizards and researchers coming here, and they're trying to discover and research this powerful magic phenomenon in the area. And over time, that just developed into a city. Now, because it's powerful spatial magic, almost everyone in Eltria, and guests, especially if you're a caster, has to wear special protective bracelets, because the natural magic of the area can cause your own magic to flare up and go out of control. The most common way is, because it's called the City of Doors, is spatial coordinates, and specifically doorways, will randomly connect to other points. So you could be trying to go to the bathroom, walk through the door, and suddenly end up in the neighborhood grocery store, or this place or that place. You also get other things similar to wild magic, but those are not common unless other magical events are going on. And so that does happen, which is why most residents of the city wear these special anti-magic charms, keep them grounded, make it so they don't randomly just walk into their neighbor's house or whatnot. Um, so yes, the city of Eltria is ruled by a council of wizards. The highest is the Archmage. It's kind of an elected slash given position to the person who's supposed to be the most powerful human mage basically in existence. Um, and so the current Archmage is one known as uh, Matthew Felifel. He is the current Archmage. No one is really quite sure how powerful he is because the Archmage is a position. You could kind of see them like the Gandalf or the Dumbledore type thing, but they are given a lot of tools and special positions as the Archmage. Some of those are special tools and special rituals that would allow them to cast ninth level or ninth circle, as the people of the world calls them, spells, which are usually beyond. So the Archmage can technically cast ninth level spells. We don't know how powerful his normal magic would be without the tools. Below the Archmage, though, is the High Maguses, and that is a position you reach basically when you reach the. It's supposed to be a position you reach when you reach the pinnacle of your normal magic. Or the pinnacle of normal magic, and when you have to start getting into the world beyond. Um, Basically, how that usually is treated is minimum fifth level to about seventh level. Is where most of the high maguses are, and they have incredible power. They create their own factions. They devote themselves to studying and creating spells. But they also are then teachers. They must teach a new generation while still trying to go further beyond and break through into the realm of just world shattering stuff, which is some seventh level, eighth level, ninth level spells. So we can assume the Archmage, because of how powerful the High Maguses are, should be at least a seventh level caster, possibly eighth. And we know he can cast ninth level, but we don't know if he is normally, it has actually himself broken into the realm of the ninth level spells. Um, Now, unfortunately, like many countries, the city of Eltria has faced corruption, and so over its course, while the High Maguses used to be a position of scholarly pursuit given to the best of the best, it's not quite that anymore. Now, all the High Maguses are still fairly powerful. They're not journeymen. They're not like they haven't they aren't casters who have just reached the true wizard stage, which is about third level. No, they would typically at least have to be on the high end of fourth, but the position of high magus has also become more of a political thing, and so casters who have gained a lot of support can have become high maguses. And again, this is a city of wizards, but there are artificers, so those are there are at least two artificers that are honor high maguses, not for their actual casting because artificer is a half caster, but because they are geniuses of creation. This is a city of magic. They don't they accept wizards, they accept sorcerers, they accept artificers, the kind of warlocks, though that is downplayed. Any This is a city to study the magical arts, but it's typically viewed as a city of wizards. The other types of casters are typically just downplayed. So there are currently 23 high maguses in various positions. Many of them are almost exclusively like researchers. Some have joint projects. Some are teachers. Are some are going out and exploring the worlds, trying to learn more. So there's 23, but they're not always in the city, and they're not always easily available, and most definitely not all of them are combat mages. I will point out that the party has met a few of them, specifically High Magus Zebanur. who is a very powerful half-elven illusionist who has a tricky personality. He is a bit infamous among the High Maguses just because, well, wizards are weird people, and he is even more so. Um, so, I've kind of talked about the political and the setup of Eltria. I'm going to talk a bit about the city itself and its landmarks, because I realize I'm kind of going on and I'm having offshoots and stuff. So, the city of Eltria has several quarters and several special landmarks. Of course, big one is right at the entrance to the city, there is the Bronze Gate of Magic. This is, again, it's an ornamental, huge gate made of solid bronze with intricate elven design techniques because it mirrors the kind of elven wizard city of, what was it, Evertree, which is where many of the elven powerful casters come from. And they're kind of viewed as sister cities, but Eltria is more well known, and Evertree is it's elves. They are a bit more prickly and think highly of themselves. But you go in, and it's a straight shot to what is known as the Sky Tower. This is fairly close to the center of the city, one of the tallest buildings, as it's an airport. It is where airships can land and take off from. Very tall spire. You can see the whole city from it. That's about it. It doesn't have any magical connotations. Um, we see here that there is a giant hole in the middle of the city. This is known as, I know I've written it somewhere else, but I'm going to call it the dugout. Because, as I said, there is a huge node of spatial magic power somewhere underneath the city. So for centuries, people have been mining and exploring underneath the city, trying to find the source. And while they've learned a lot of things, they've learned this isn't the first city, or maybe it has, but this is not the first time people have been here. People have been trying to find this source for many times, and there are relics and ruins from pasts. The problem is, because the magic is spatially oriented, anytime people get close, they're teleported somewhere else. So it's very difficult to do, but there is a giant kind of archaeological excavation site in the city as you can go down, trying to uncover the root of the magic behind this city. Moving on, we have the gateway, the warp point, as you say. This is one of the greatest workings of Wizard's kind. A huge magical gateway. Think kind of like a Stargate if you've seen that movie or television series. And it is this elaborate gateway that can send you anywhere across the planet, across the planes, across anywhere. And it is the greatest achievement. And it's not used too much because while they made it like a century or two ago. I think it was 193 years ago. It's also expensive to use. It requires a lot of material components. You have to lock on to places. It's not that. So at this point, it's mostly a tourist attraction. It is used in special events or as a display piece. Typically, if they're linking to like small demi-planes or doing bits of planar exploration, because it is slightly cheaper than other planar travel spells. It's just not something we can keep active. This is not like, oh, yes, all the cities in the world are connected because we invented this. No, this is, we created this, but the technology is still imperfect. It's like a Gen 1 iPhone or something. But that's me talking. And then we get here into like the research quarters of the city. This is where you have a lot more larger buildings, libraries, schools, colleges. Because the rest of the city is just a city. But as you get to the far side, the more northern parts of the city is where the wizards live. They study. We have the the High Magus' tower, where many of the High Maguses have, well, not offices in the tower. They have offices spatially connected to the tower. The spatial magic of Eltria makes it them so that they are able to mess around with demi-planes and teleportation a lot more within the city. So those are the major things of the city. I'm just going to go over some small areas we have around here. Tends to be where the artificers, the alchemists, stuff like that, they do their research. So they're kind of on the down end of the casters. The middle is, of course, the market areas and whatnot. Uh, we have this alleyway here, which, well, close to the portal is basically the magical markets, and where you would shop for magic items, exotic goods, this and that, things that are maybe questionably legal or not. And then we get into the docks, and that is kind of where the slums are, and it actually leads into the religious quarter, because Eltria is not a very religious city, but they do have some small temples. Even temples to strange gods, like the god of hats, specifically magic hats, or the god of wands, or this and that, because wizards are funny. So that is the layout of the city. I'm going to end it here in a minute, but I do want to cover one brief thing about Eltria before I go, is that because it is a city of magic, it's kind of a weird city. People love magic here, and they use magic for everything, including clothing, outfits, how people look. If you go to Eltria, you will see rainbow colors of hair, you will see magical garments and sparkles and this, and most of it's just low level, kind of flashy bits, but it's not something you would see elsewhere. In other cities, you will see a lot more dull colors. You'll see people just going about their day. This is a city that kind of is, it's sporadic, it's random, it's magical. It's the city of magic. So this is the World of Erudain, City of Eltria, Episode 2. Thank you all for watching. Check out some of our other World of Erudain videos that are going to be coming out in the future. And have a great day.